man. Daryl's a grown man. He can't live there, so he goes and gets his own place. Of course, I'm kidding. I just told you where he lives. He lives in his mother's driveway in his mother's car, okay? The like, subscribe, consider becoming a member to support the channel on a regular basis. Really help, okay? And leave comments. Just get in the comments and let me know what you would like for me to speak on in part 2. How about that? How about you be a part of the conversation? You know what I'm saying? Hey y'all, it's your girl J9E. Thought I'd do a little bit of stand-up, but because you know mama, okay? Mama got bad knees, and so we're gonna do a sit-down comedy, okay? For those who have come across this and are unfamiliar, which I don't know who you would be if you were unfamiliar with this, okay? But Daryl Brooks, I have been covering him for 8 months. I've been roasting the same fella. I feel like I know this piece of ish, okay? Daryl ran through a parade. He drove his mama's car, to be specific. Daryl decided to drive his mama's car through a parade, like a active parade with people, full and packed. Children, old people, just mowed through. Imagine worst case scenario, you got it, you nailed it. That's what it looked like, okay? Of course he gets caught. He does this in broad daylight. Everybody already got their cameras out. It's a freaking parade, okay? So just too many witnesses. He then abandons the car and he goes, and he's footing it. Now, if you are unfamiliar, Daryl is about 5'4" tall, okay? He's somewhere between 5'4" and 5'6", okay? So him running, them ain't long strides is what I'm getting at, okay? They're not long strides that he's taking. They're just not, all right? So while he's running, of course, then he abandons his slipper as he tries to jump over a fence. One of his little slippers come off. Which brings me to another topic. The fact that he insisted on calling said slipper, because that's what it was. It was like a slide. But he insisted on calling it a flip-flop for some reason, which just made it funnier, okay? So his little short behind flips over this here fence, leaves his slipper. So now he's got one flip-flop on, one flip-flop off. He comes across a playhouse, and he's hiding in the playhouse. And in the playhouse, Daryl decides it's a little odd I'm walking around with one flip-flop, so what do I do? Should I go back and get the other one? Or should I just leave this one and now be barefoot completely? Because that's not going to look suspicious. Now have you? This happens in a cold place during a cold season, okay? So now, of course, if I'm going to abandon my slipper, I might as well abandon my jacket too. Because if I'm going to freeze to death, I might as well do it efficiently, I guess, was the thought process. So here's Daryl running around in his socks that I'm sure at some point were white. Probably not on this day because he looked like he don't wear clean socks. You can't blame today's thing that you done on why your socks is dirty. Them look like eternally dirty socks. Daryl was what I'm getting at, okay? So of course, Daryl gets found hiding out at this man's house. This guy let him in his house, which is a testament to how nice the people must be in this place called Waukesha, which is where this happened. This man let this man in. Daryl come knocking at this man's door, okay? He come knocking at this man's door and he says, please, can I come in and use your phone? I'm homeless. I ain't gonna kill you or nothing. That's what he say. I ain't trying to kill you or nothing. And he pats himself down. What does this guy do? Open his door and let him in. Sat him on the couch, gave him a sandwich, gave him his phone, let him warm up. Now, but then the guy starts to get wise. He's like, well, all these police is driving down the street. What all these lights is about? And he starts to get suspicious. He's like, is they looking for you? You got to go outside and wait, okay? You can't be up in. So it kicks Daryl out, which of course then gets him discovered. Which brings me to some more Daryl shenanigans. Daryl gets discovered, immediately throws his hands up, okay? Lays himself gently down on the grass, all documented, all on video. Lays himself down on the ground. They come and cuff him, very gentle. Whole town fucking gentle, okay? Of course, from this, Daryl says that they slammed him on the ground and now his shoulder is broken. Which Which brings us to the interrogation room where Daryl was complaining about all the pain in his shoulder. Daryl's in pain, you see. His shoulder is just killing him. It was from when they slammed me on the ground, he says. Boom. This is the gesture he makes to demonstrate how they slammed him on the ground in his imagination. They were very, very reckless and just aggressive in his imagination, okay? So how about Daryl? Let's get into some backstory now. We're going to get into some backstory. Now, Daryl Brooks lived with his mother. Let me be more specific. Daryl Brooks lived in his mother's car, her SUV, her red SUV to be specific. Daryl lived in his mother's red SUV, which was parked in her garage. So Daryl lived in his mother's car in his mother's garage. That was his residence, okay, where he lived at. Now, the reason he had to live in said car is because he was put out of the house. Why, you ask? Oh, because he shot at his nephew. His nephew lived with his mother, right? So Daryl, having a restraining order against him now from the nephew whom he shot at, okay? He can't be in the house. So now, where does he go? He goes off and he gets a job and he gets his own place. Of course. I mean, he's a grown-ass man. Daryl's a grown-ass man. He can't live there, so he goes and gets his own place. Of course, I'm fucking kidding. I just told you where he lives. He lives in his mother's driveway in his mother's car, okay? Daryl gets lonely, like living in this car in his driveway. I mean, sure, he has a whole entire television in there that he runs an extension cord into his mother's house so he can watch Tom and Jerry, or wrestling, actually. Apparently, he likes to watch wrestling, according to his ex-girlfriend, whom we're going to get into now. So Daryl got very lonely. He got lonely, living in his mother's car in his mother's driveway, all alone with just him and his television. How many nights can a man just lay across the back seat like this, flicking his feet up behind him, because he can fit in there real easily laying down. Like I told you, Daryl be 5'3", okay? But he got lonely. Daryl got lonely. It was like, I need company. Lucky for Daryl, when Daryl was 25 or 26 or something, he knocked up a minor. He impregnated a minor, which of course got him on the registry of a certain type. So, he's on this registry. He done knocked up this minor. The minor's name was Erica. Miss Erica. Now, Daryl's lonely, sitting in his car, he's like 38, 39 years old at this point. And he's just living in mama's vehicle and he's lonely. So what does he do? Call up Erica. You know what you should do, Erica? You should move down here. Well, up here, I should say. You should move up here. She was living in Georgia, I think. You need to move up here. You know what I'm saying? You could get a job, you stay with me and my mom. But I done told y'all, Daryl don't live in his mother's house, remember? Erica didn't know that. Guess what Erica done? She went up there. Guess where Erica now is living? In said car with Daryl. I couldn't make this up if I tried, okay? So according to Daryl, in this interrogation, of course, according to Daryl, he, she got down there, and, he helped her. He taught her how to write a resume, which of course he can only do for other people apparently, because Daryl don't got no job. So he says he helped her, write her resume and, so she could get a job at a hotel and then, sneak him into hotel rooms. I'm sure was his plan. Because Daryl's gonna Daryl. That's why. Because Daryl's gonna Daryl. In case you wanted to ask. Why would he do that? Because Daryl. That's why. Okay. So while he's in this interrogation room, he's just sulking about his sadness and how his life is just so bad now and it's just over, And then he's like, what if I lose everything? I still, my kids live with me. That's what he said. He said his children live with him. He's referring to his 2 daughters. Now, that's a funny statement. I'll tell you why. Because one of his daughters is grown, has her own baby, or at the time was pregnant on her own, lives in Atlanta. That's the one with Erica, who herself is 15 or 16 at the time. And then there's the other daughter, who's like a young one, like 8 or something. And she live in a whole nother state too. She don't even live in the state either. So he's telling them that his daughters live with him and they at the house waiting on him. What am I gotta call them so they know I'm okay. They're gonna be worried I didn't make it home, he says. Like I said, daughters in different states and neither one of them have anything to do with him. So now he says he's scared, he's gonna, what if I lose my mortgage? I still gotta pay my mortgage, is what he says in this interrogation. Still gotta pay my mortgage, I mean, that's just a funny statement, literally, remember? Because Daryl lives in his mother's car, in his mother's driveway. Daryl not only don't have a house, Daryl don't even live in one. But he says this with a straight face, which, says a lot. There's also an incident inside this interrogation where he's complaining about his shoulder. He uses it every moment he can, every time to distract them from asking him certain questions. He's like, oh my God, his shoulder must be hurting so bad. So then the officers step out of the room for a second. Soon as the door closes, I do not kid you, okay? Soon as the door closes, Daryl reaches over to see what this piece of paper is on the other side of the desk, lifts it ever so gently by the corner, being nosy, and then tries to use the phone. There's a phone sitting there on the desk in the interrogation room. Of course, they unplugged it. Duh, right? He then tries to use the phone, okay? Of course, it doesn't work. They open the door. He hurries up, slams the phone down, and then goes right back into, like the pain is so bad. He think he's so slick, but how dumb can you be? This is not the first time this man had been in an interrogation room. And there he is, acting like ain't no fucking camera in there. I ain't never been in one of those rooms, and I know it's a camera in there. Do you not watch true crime? Like, why do you think we have all this footage of the interrogations? There's just cameras in there. But Daryl be so dumb. Why? Because Daryl be so dumb. To be a Daryl, and to be that dumb. It would be hard. Daryl proves it to us every day. I might do another one of these. This might be a part 1. It's like a breakdown / sit down comedy sesh. He gives good laughs. Ain't good for nothing else. And that'll be that on that. Okay. If you made it to here, hit the like, subscribe, consider becoming a member to support the channel on a regular basis. Really, really help. Okay. And leave comments. Just get in the comments and let me know what you would like for me to speak on in part 2. How about that? How about you be a part of the conversation? You know what I'm saying? Mama likey, mommy likey. Y'all behave, because I'm not going to do it. No, I already told you no. Stop asking. Mama love you though. Yes, she do. Peace.